Hello, welcome to the show. Today, me and Oliver Rogers are going to be talking about building your first gym, client retention, and ordering gym equipment, and everything that you need to know about ordering your first gym. Oliver was also nominated for Health and Fitness Startup of the Year and New Entrepreneur of the Year. Enjoy the show. You know, any time I got sacked as a kid, it was always my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you look back, at the time you feel like a victim, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's like, as a kid's mentality is, I'm the victim. Why are they doing this to me?
Yeah.
And when you get older, you think, fucking, I was a shit employee.
Yeah. Mine was a little bit different, to be fair. It was their structure that we were trying to put in.
Yeah.
It ended up being a failed structure. And they ended up having to sell out the gym. And all I was doing was questioning the structure that we were trying to put in.
Were you a PT, yeah? And they were trying to put in like a new system, like a rent or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I could see the flaws in it. And I'm just curious by nature, so I'd ask questions. Always asking questions. And it's obviously not what they wanted.
You know, the fact that you've been voted Entrepreneur of the Year, yeah? And is it New Entrepreneur of the Year or Entrepreneur of the Year?
Yeah, New Entrepreneur of the Year. Yeah.
New Entrepreneur of the Year. But, you know, you have to have like that rebel mindset.
Yeah.
To actually become an entrepreneur, because you're going against the grain. You know, in the UK, I think the stat is 95% of the country is employees, 5% are employers.
Yeah.
So there has to be a rebel mindset or something thinking out the box for you to be part of that 5%.
Definitely.
So, like, obviously, you've had that in you. I tend to find, you know, people who are amazing at their own company, they sometimes make terrible employees.
Yeah. So true. I think it's just like identifiers that often find problems.
Yeah.
And they want to create solutions, but when you work for someone else, you're not really allowed to create the solutions for them.
Yeah. Have you heard the term entrepreneur?
Yeah.
There's so many successful entrepreneurs, like the entrepreneur at Coca-Cola, McDonald's, these are deca millionaires. So you can be very wealthy as an employee, as an entrepreneur, that's second in command. But some people, they have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I think, you know, in my early 20s, and my mid-20s, I kind of lost it. I had it in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Then I lost it. I became an employee. It took me a while to find it again. Did you probably same for you?
To be fair, I think I've never done well working with anyone else. I haven't sustained a job down for a couple of months before my mind's wandering elsewhere. I want to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I've never really... I think most I've done is I managed someone else's business for a year, close to 2 years.
What was that?
It was called FitStart. It was based in Watford.
Yeah.
And the guy was... a narcissist, and he was very much so a bipolar, and it was like being in an abusive relationship without realising it.
Okay.
And he used to just gallivant travelling all the time.
Yeah.
And then I had the great experience to learn how to play with someone else's money, but I wasn't getting anything from it. And recently I was getting paid peanuts.
He had a gym?
Yeah.
And what was the gym?
It was a small group personal training kind of setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just gallivanting around the world, travelling, putting whatever up his nose, and he wasn't present in his business at all. So then I was fortunate that I got to manage it, run it, but the members were successful. The members themselves understood business, and they could see that there wasn't many overheads, and they all wanted a piece of the pie themselves. So when I left that business, within 2 weeks, I had 6 business proposals where people were just throwing ideas my way and wanted to work with me.
Yeah.
But I had no idea kind of where I wanted to go at the time. And
how old are you at this time?
I was 21.
Okay.
I'm 23, sorry.
How old are you now?
I'm 29.
Yeah,
so I was 23 at the time. And then I decided to accept the proposal based on the individuals that weren't pushing for finances, like money. They were more wanting to help people. Yeah. Now in hindsight, looking back, it was the worst decision I ever made, choosing them over the other proposals. But it was fortunate that I got to play with someone else's money and have an ownership in a business. After the first year, it was clear that our paths are not going in the same direction.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like a hobby for them. It's pocket change. Where for me, it's my passion in my life. So when it was clear that our directions weren't going in the same path, because we were looking to open up a second gym and they weren't really interested, I was like, what's the point? I'm basically doing the same thing as I was managing a previous gym.
Yeah.
I'm an owner, but not really, because I don't have majority share.
You know, recently I've been organising like a back-to-back loan for like a business. So it's been helping out gym owners, and I've had gym owners who have seeked investment, had investment, and sometimes the formula isn't for everyone.
No.
If you know, there's silent investors, and silent investors aren't always silent, and you've probably been involved in it.
So like really, my partners should have been silent investors.
Yeah.
But they wanted to be business partners and be present. But every time they came in, any solution that they thought they were creating was a problem, not a solution. And it's because they hadn't worked in the industry before. They didn't realise that. And anything that they tried implementing, I guarantee I've already tried it in the past. So I already knew the outcomes. So I was like, no. The problem is, like, it's 2 of them against 1. So always getting ganged up. And their communication to members was appalling. So every time there was any issues with members, they would go on by email.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Invite the member in, let's sit down and discuss this. Let's communicate properly. And they never were good at that communication and created problems. And I was like, we're not on the same path here. So I'm going to part ship and do it myself.
Yeah. And like, years on now, you've got your own place. Tell me about your gym. Can I ask, instead of asking how good your gym is doing, can you tell me about like the gym's mission, your values as a business?
So I've always been passionate about supporting and helping other people. Now, as a sole person, there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many people you can help as a sole individual. Yeah. So I want to be able to develop and empower a team, because then that dilutes and then empowers even more people. Yeah. So very quickly, as I was progressing my career and managing other staff members, I really had a passion for helping staff develop, because then they in turn have a bigger impact on a wider amount of clients. So for me, I've had a very successful online business, but I hated it because I didn't get into the industry to be sat behind a PC. I got in the industry because I wanted to genuinely help people and be client facing. So I wanted to, as soon as lockdown happened, it was clear to me that I wanted my own gym again. And I decided to open up my own gym during lockdown, which was a big challenge because trying to find a premises, no landlord really wanted to discuss the idea of opening a gym when they were forced to be closed. So I viewed 37 properties. I had 9 different proposals to different landlords, and they kept pulling out as soon as the gym would be forced to be closed.
So lockdown was in March the 20th, 2020. At what stage were you looking for properties?
Basically throughout the whole of lockdown.
I give you credit because everyone's in scarcity mode. Everyone's scared. Everyone is thinking I need to stand still. And like, someone that I really looked up to during lockdown was Dana White.
Yeah.
And Dana White, he was finding Florida, he was going overseas to Abu Dhabi and still running UFC events. He was relentless. He was like, we're not stopping. He knows there's a lot of eyeballs on the TV and he wants to keep running the shows. Yep. He kept going. And I kind of looked at him and thought, I'm sat on my arse during lockdown. I just found it so inspiring. And it kind of gave me drive coming out of lockdown, just watching someone have that much energy. So like you kept looking for properties. So then how did that like kind of compound?
So realistically, I wanted to be kind of the territory of where my previous business was, because that's where my client base is. But trying to find the premises there was a challenge. And unless I gave a landlord 12-month deposit, which is stupid because in the commercial world, you never see a deposit ever again. So as a new business, I'm not going to be able to put a 12-month deposit down. I ended up viewing a premises not in the geographical location that I wanted, but it was on like the other direction of where I live. And I met the landlord instantly, got on with them, and then within 2 weeks I got the keys. So I was like, okay, this is going to be the gym now.
This is your first gym?
Yeah.
This is the Watford site?
This is Studham.
Studham. Okay. Yeah.
Most people, even if they live down the road from it, have no idea where it is because it's such a small village. But right next to it is Whipsnade Zoo. So most people know where the zoo is because it's one of the biggest zoos in the country. So it's a little village called Studham. There is no real competition around. There's no gyms or anything the next closest towns are Hemel Hempstead, Dunstable and Berkhamsted. Yeah. So if any of the villagers want to go to the gym, they have to go out to one of the major towns. It's in a beautiful setting. We have we're in our own standalone building. We've got woodlands behind us, fields in front of us. I didn't get it because of the beautiful setting, but actually since opening there, I very much enjoyed the environment and the space. Yeah. It's very nice when I'm doing my admin stuff, looking across the field and you see some random animals kind of like running across, birds. It's
from Sheffield originally, so.
Yeah, it's a bit different to around here, right? Yeah. So definitely a beautiful setting, but a challenge because now it's a brand new business with no client base. And I'm taking on the overheads of the facility, pre-purchased all my equipment. So during that lockdown phase, I knew exactly the equipment that I wanted and the model that I wanted to open. So I ordered all my equipment from a supplier, a manufacturer in China, and that came and I had it in storage all ready to go. But I just didn't have the venue at the time. Yeah. So as soon as I got the keys to the venue, it was mass move all of the equipment into the venue.
Just to ask you, how long did it take for the equipment to come from the time that you paid to the time that it delivered? How long was it?
Probably within 2 months.
Okay, because that's fast.
Yeah.
Coming from China, we build out a lot of gyms, and when you're ordering gym equipment, you could be ordering it from even Ireland, UK,
Yeah,
wherever
yeah.
you're ordering it from, it can take a long time.
So, even most UK suppliers, they say 6 weeks, but that's because some of the big orders
Yeah.
aren't getting made in the UK. They're coming from abroad.
I often tell gym owners it's like ordering a sofa.
Yeah.
They tell you 2 weeks, you get a delayed email. If you've ever ordered a sofa, you know it's taking 3 months.
But once you've gone through the chain of the manufacturers and you start
Yeah.
looking at the products, you start recognizing like UK brands have been
Yeah.
duplicating some of their stuff.
That's all it is. They just put their logo on
Yeah,
there.
it's
It's all made in China.
White label products,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. That's all it is.
So I ended up speaking to like 20 different manufacturers, and I
Yeah.
would just screenshot the quotes and send them between each other. And then
You drive the price down.
yeah, and or they would give me specific reasoning on why that product's actually better. Like when it comes to the steel work, rather than it being like 2 mil steel, it's 3 mil, so it's more hard wearing and more commercial grade. So I had this lovely lady. I call her Grace. I know by a fact that's not her real name,
Yeah.
but I know her as Grace. And we just communicate through WhatsApp. So anything that I wanted, I'd just take a picture, I'd send to her. She would go straight into the warehouse, send me pictures straight back. And
Did you get your logos put on stuff as well?
yeah, so before I opened my gym, my business was purely online.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of merch with my branded content
Same
on
brand?
originally. Yeah, so ReDiscipline. So merchandise being clothing, bands, some like little fitness accessories, water bottles.
But that's a real powerful skill. You know, the supply chain
Mm-hmm.
skill of ordering. Like, you know, I work with a lot of online coaches and they want to sell bands or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And that's a good thing to sell to now. You've already got that market. You monetize them in many different ways in products. But that experience of ordering and until it's delivered,
Yeah.
you have to gain that experience. So the fact that you had that before equipment, I think that's
Yeah.
a useful skill to have.
And I think it gave me the confidence into spending tens of thousands on a higher order.
Yes.
Because if it was my first ever order from China, I probably would have been reluctant to do so.
Yeah.
But as I'd probably spent about £8,000 on merchandise previously, and everything came. There was no issues with anything I ever ordered. It gave me the confidence to just not worry so much. I think a lot of people, when it comes to importing, get worried and think that their money's just going to disappear.
Yeah.
But especially with China, it's such a regulated currency, and then once you use a broker, it can't disappear. And actually, I find the transaction of dealing with a Chinese manufacturer really easy.
I think this advice is very unique because I've not heard many people talk about a first-time gym owner ordering gym equipment and the troubles you have. So I think it's like something unique because you're going to be hit with taxes.
Yep.
So did you expect that tax bill? Did you get hit?
So the cost of the equipment went up when
Yeah.
trying to work out so when you're ordering anything that has to be imported, there's different phrases of words that they will use, and it means different things.
Yeah.
So depending on the type of freight it is, whether it's going to be going through plane, train, or through boat, then the way that they have different abbreviations, whether it might mean that they will get it onto the boat, but once it's on their boat, it's nothing to do with them, and then you have to liaise with the shipping company that you're going to be able to get it off the boat at the docks. Then you've got handling fees, storage fees, clearance fees. And it's not straightforward to try and work out how this all works. Some people pay for a shipping agent and they handle it, but put a big margin on top. Luckily, I noticed one of the emails that came through came from Vanguard Logistics, and Vanguard's one of the biggest companies in the world. So I just acted dumb on an email. And then they just basically said, here's our percentages if you want us to handle clearance, sort out your VAT, and deliver it to you. So do the haulage from the port to my location. And I was like, yes, please. And actually that found it really easy. So much so when I order equipment, I found it actually quite an easier experience than I thought, apart from the cost of the shipping, that I decided to put another order in purely to get the equipment to sell.
Which option do you go for? Do you go for the boat? Do you go for freight?
Yeah, freight. So I was usually getting half a container at a time.
Yeah.
So the container's cost is split between two people.
Just takes longer. Do you just wait for the other side? To
Yeah,
be filled?
usually they've already got that order already in. So
Yeah.
then I'm just trying to push mine on the back of their order,
Yeah.
which usually means for them it's taking them around 14 days to get my items and get it to the shipping yard. And then it's usually about 35 days for it to then come on the ship. 3 days for it usually to clear through customs, and you pay your fees. And then it's like a day haulage. But I ordered a big chunk of gym equipment, being barbells and bumper plates, because during lockdown the demand was so high and there was no supply, right? And my lady promised me she'll get it to me in 30 days. So I was like, yeah, great. Like, this is going to be the quickest turnaround I've ever done. And there was the container ship that got stuck in the sewage canal, where the container turned and got stuck, so no container ships could get through the sewage canal, which back ordered all of the shipping. So I didn't get my goods for a further 2 months. So it meant all of the UK main suppliers got their stock before I did, and then lockdown suddenly finished. So all of the demand dropped and the supply went up, and I'm still sitting on some of that equipment now in storage.
Okay. Well, we'll see if we can help you shift that equipment. I think there'll be a lot of gym owners and a lot of people wanting to buy equipment, so I'm sure they can hit you up for it. So now you've got your equipment, you've got the gym. You've done a build out for a gym before, so like when we talk about, I want to go into the detail of, about which matting to get, about all these steps that you went into building a gym.
So with the previous gym that I opened with business partners, they initially gave me a set budget, and I was very stingy on it, wanting to get as much as I can for the budget. So I was experienced with sourcing equipment and knowing what I was looking for. Flooring is always a challenge, because until you've ordered different types of flooring, do you really understand what the difference is between the flooring. So like for my Studham site, I went with 20 mil 1 meter by 1 meter flooring. Yeah. But I went with the slightly cheaper option, and it gets a little bit bitty sometimes. So when we're going around with a Hoover, bits of it's coming off a little bit. Where some will do an extra.
What mil was that? What
20
size?
mil.
Yep.
Some will do an extra like heat press, which gives it a more flatter, smoother surface on top. Much more hard wearing, easier to wipe clean, and you're not going to have the risk of it falling apart. So I should have probably spent about 30% more and got that more expensive flooring.
Yeah, and you know that for the second site.
So the second site, because we've recently moved location, but the first location we had residents above, and then we're now on the second floor. We have thicker flooring just to help with impact.
This is in Watford now.
This is Watford.
Okay. Where's that in Watford?
Watford is called Sandown Road. Yeah. So if anyone knows where the big Asda superstore is in Watford, it's basically behind that.
Okay, and like, what kind of things do you offer? Like, how can someone come into your gym? For anyone who might be interested in joining a gym, what kind of things do you offer as a business? What services do you offer? Do you offer training? Do you offer classes? What is it?
So both my gyms, the structure and the model is exactly the same. They run exactly the same sessions. They run the exact same timings. So we run 8 sessions a day as small group personal training. So the principle of 1 trainer to a maximum of 5 clients. So we aim to get the interpersonability like it's one-to-one, but within the ambience and the atmosphere of being in a small group. Which means for the trainers, it's a lot more mentally, because they might have 3 different people's ability around them, and they've got to quickly adapt on their feet. But for the clients, it means they often enjoy the environment more. There's a level of social elements to it, but a lot more cost effective. So rather than paying £50+ per PT fee, they pay a set monthly membership fee, which is kind of dividing the costs between the members. We have no restrictions on bookings, so it means that they can cancel and come straight to the next session. So if something's come up with their kids or work and they need to cancel and come an hour later, they can do, which gives it a lot more flexibility.
Okay, so you have, there's no late cancellation charge or anything like that. So explain that to me. How does it work?
So depending on which membership they're on, we offer a 2 session per week or unlimited. Yeah. They can just cancel the session and then reschedule it. It keeps it really flexible for themselves, whereas typically with PTs, it's like a 24-hour notice period. Yeah. And generally life gets in the way. If they can't make it their session, they've had to cancel, they've been charged for it, then later on in the week, the same thing might happen. And it's creating barriers and obstacles to prevent someone from being able to train with you. Whereas in my environment, there is no barriers, there are no obstacles. So we bombard our clients. We're constantly trying to keep them accountable, being like, book your sessions in, get to the gym. We run 4 sessions in the morning, 4 sessions in the evening. So we do 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8:40, 9:40. And then in the evening at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 and 7:30. So it's in the times when most people are available, before or after work, or after the school run, the second part of the morning.
And in the daytime, when the gym's empty, can it be rented out? Can it be like, what else happens?
So we wouldn't rent it out to external PTs, but the trainers, my staff, have the ability to PT their own clients within that time frame for free if they choose to.
Amazing. Yeah, so you're creating an amazing environment for your staff because they can make extra money on the side
Yep.
in the daytime. You've got it so the members can move around their classes because they have the freedom. But out of genuine curiosity, if you offer that much freedom to members, does it like hurt your business in like cancellations? Are they using it as like, I can just cancel any time and move a session?
Given that level of flexibility, most people want to stick to a set schedule or routine. It does mean that because we work on a principle of one trainer to a maximum of 5 clients, I'm often that filling gap where the session suddenly gets busy. I'm going to be jumping in that session. So then there's more than one trainer within that session. So it means like my day might be a bit more hectic because I might be doing admin stuff and jumping into a session. Then it's a little bit of a quieter session so I can step out and do what I need to do. Suddenly I'm jumping in again. But there are always going to be set times that are more busier than other times. So as like most gym owners, if they're at 80% maximum capacity, that's realistically 100% capacity.
Yeah.
Because we can't choose when other people are going to train. They're going to choose the times that are more convenient for them. So we're going to strive to try and get to 80% maximum capacity, which is 100% capacity, really.
Yeah.
And the way I set up the structure with staff and rota, there shouldn't be any problems with doing that. The only thing is sometimes when it comes to like school holidays, suddenly everyone's timetables and rotas change. So the busy times suddenly go a bit quiet and the quiet times suddenly get a bit busier.
Yeah, no, that's amazing that you've set it up that way. I think it's, one of it's quite like a unique perspective because you're offering so much, they're getting a lot out of it, and as a business, it's like perfect as well because you can offer more and you can really tailor it. But you're in a week, how many sessions would you normally jump into?
So I probably do 2 to 3 a day.
Okay.
Out of the 8 that we run in each facility. Now, if I've got a staff member away or I'm short-staffed, then that can change. So sometimes where we've had a staff member leave, suddenly I'm doing 8 sessions a day. So that can be suddenly very full-on where I'm working. So
is your goal to keep enjoying doing classes, or do you want to kind of phase yourself out and kind of build it so you're not needed?
So I want to put a lot more emphasis into the trainer development and additional intellectual property that we're building out, which I can't really do when I'm stuck in the sessions. I don't want to be completely disattached because it is still a love and a passion, and I do enjoy training clients. So doing 2 to 3 a day is nice for me. I like that interaction, but it also needs to free up that brain space to have the capacity to focus on marketing, growth, sales, recruitment, and the additional intellectual properties that we build up.
And your long-term goal is to have more gyms?
Yes.
And if years from now you've got a few more sites, can you still see yourself teaching even with more sites?
The teaching will probably be changed rather than me teaching clients. I'll be teaching staff members because I'll be going between the sites.
And that's still love of teaching. I like originally I used to love sales. Then I started to love teaching sales. No, it was first I used to love selling.
Yeah.
Then I would manage a team and I would enjoy managing the leadership side that we spoke about. And I actually found out what type of leader I am. I did the Insights colour test. I don't know if you ever did it at a company.
I know what you
mean. And you kind of work out which colour are you.
Yeah.
And mine was unique because I was no red outside of work, but in work all red. And my yellow, I was extremely yellow outside of work and then no yellow in work, which means as soon as I'm at work, I'm just like, I need to work now. I'm focused. And outside of work, I'm like jolly and happy. And it kind of disappears. And it was like a working piece for me to constantly develop my own character because people who worked with me wouldn't actually know
what you like outside of work, essentially.
And I used to find that a barrier when I used to manage people because they couldn't connect with me. So like now that was a good learning piece for me because I found that my staff connected with me more as a time. Because a lot of the times when you have a senior manager, they just see you as like a figure of authority, and you can't actually get close to the team when they see you that way. It can create a barrier at times. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So like for me, it was to soften up. What about for you? Like how's your management style been?
So I think I strongly strive to lead by example. So there's not one task or anything that the staff get asked to do that they haven't seen me do already. I'm very much in it. I like it and I enjoy it. So I do every single task, and realistically, it's my business. So whatever I'm doing in my business, I'm quick at and efficient at because I've done it so regularly. So I like to lead by example, and I like to delegate tasks based on what someone might have actually interest in. Because there's no point me giving something to someone that they're going to half-heartedly do because they're not interested. It's wasting their time. It's wasting my time. So I like to work with my employees to see what it is that actually they enjoy, what they want to develop, what they learn. Some people might like the idea of learning marketing and the analytical side. But once you actually sit down and start looking at how that works, you can see it kind of just fades away, and they're not that interested. And maybe they're like more of the content creation side of things, where they want to just create content, but they don't want to understand the analytics of how to plug that in and get a cost per acquisition, or might just be purely the sales side. So I work with all of my staff individually based on what it is that they want. So hopefully they get more from it, they enjoy it, and they get to develop the skills that they kind of love and enjoy, rather than saying, here's a task, go do it, and they're just not interested.
Yeah, it's you like understanding people, being a people person. I can tell from your Instagram, you know, you've got so much energy in your posts, and I can see you know how to engage people. And if you combine that with the leadership qualities and understanding how to lead people and challenge the people around you, it's like a fine line between challenging your staff and then supporting them.
Yeah, definitely so.
So it's like,
I think especially within like a professional world, there's always been a persona of how someone must act. But then that professional act isn't necessarily a way you engage and build a relationship with someone.
yeah.
So I am, no matter which environment I'm in, I'm always myself. So whether I'm at home, whether I'm in the gym, whether I'm training myself, I'm kind of the same throughout everything that I do, which for employees, when they're new to the team, probably find this quite confusing because they're used to having a manager manage them.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm always barefooted in my gyms. I'm jumping around like a loony. I can be sarcastic. I can have fun. I can do my thing. I make random noises where I'm going, woo, yeah. And for a lot of people, that's quite foreign to them. They're not used to having a boss or a manager or an owner just completely be themselves. But I think it makes it a lot more easier for them to feel more comfortable in the environment. But it does mean when, like, if a staff member isn't performing or they're taking the piss, that when we sit down, it's suddenly a very different conversation.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there are sometimes barriers and we have to address issues if they're starting to come.
And they'll notice that energy shift and think, oh, I have to listen now.
Yeah, very much so. And, you know, sometimes those conversations aren't fun. That's not necessarily what I want to do. Yeah. But if someone is taking the piss, at the end of the day, like, you are there to fulfill a role. I want to support you. But if you're not supporting the business, then we've got to sit down and have that conversation.
Yeah. So just to ask you like a unique question, what would the 10 times smarter version of Ollie do for his businesses today? It's hard because it makes you think.
Yeah. I think the biggest part is seeing the business without me. Finding solutions on how can I still have the element of what my business is to me, but without me being in it. Because really, any business isn't a business unless you can completely step out of it and it run itself. Because otherwise, it's just a very expensive self-employed model.
And you know your personality where you're walking around and shouting and walking barefoot, that energy that others are feeling, how are you going to create that energy in your facility when you're not there?
Yeah. That comes down to the staff being their genuine intent.
Yeah.
If I've got an amazing team now, I've probably got the best team I've ever worked with in my life.
How many trainers?
I've got 3 solid trainers and we're currently recruiting for a 4th.
This is between two sites?
Sites, yeah.
And if there's any trainers who are listening, like very much like we're in the fitness industry, so what type of trainer would suit your business? Who would be the right call for you?
So the ideal trainer is the trainer that's looking to develop, that likes to be part of a team. Most of the time PT is quite a lonely path because your colleagues are also your competition. Where in my environment, we do full paid salary and you get to learn and grow off other staff members. And it's a fun and engaging environment. The biggest challenge that I usually have with, I do a lot of interviews every month, and it's so common for PTs they got in the industry because they love training themselves and they have a passion for fitness themselves. They then might have trained a few friends along that journey and they go, oh, I'd love to do this as a career. This would be a fun passion. But having a passion for yourself and having a passion to training other people is very different, because typically the type of clients you're going to have are general population, and they've got their own barriers, their own issues and their own challenges that they're going to present themselves. And that's not what happens when you train yourself or other friends.
Yeah.
So suddenly a lot of trainers like the idea of being a trainer, like the idea of being a full-time PT, and some trainers may have even been in the industry for years, but realistically only working part-time. When they step up to actually working full-time, realise actually it's not as fun or as glamorous as they thought it was, and it's not for them.
Yeah.
And I think the statistics within the industry is 49 out of 50 PTs drop out or never work within the industry within the first 2 years of qualifying.
I believe it. You know, when I used to train personal trainers how to sell at Virgin Active, so, you know, I used to work in clubs and we used to have trainers come in constantly. We used to constantly train them how to sell, how to upskill. And a lot of the times I remember the staff having bets. How long do you think it'd last?
Yeah.
And you know, the unique thing is within the fitness industry, and as a whole in the employee world, north and south, the retention level, how long you keep a member of staff, the churn of staff in the north is so much lower.
Oh, really?
They stay there longer. Like the general, someone was to get a job up north, like I'm from Sheffield. The Sheffield Virgin Active had staff that would stay there 10 plus years. But then in the south, they would just be constantly turning through the staff. So there is a mindset piece between north and south.
Yeah.
And opportunities are far more vast, like in London. So there is that as well.
We live in a fortunate world that anyone can change their career and job tomorrow if they want to.
Yep.
So when the going gets a bit tough, or their perception's not really what they perceived might be their expectation isn't really set out to the way they thought it might be, suddenly they can jump ship and just change what they're doing tomorrow.
I love it. I love that capitalist talk.
But it's true, right? And
Yeah.
like social media doesn't help this because everyone is just looking at like the grass is greener on the other side. They're seeing everyone's highlight reels. They're seeing what they perceive is a level of success, but they don't really know those individuals. They don't really actually see what's going on in their bank accounts or their lifestyle. The amount of PTs that come and interview with me, and I naturally ask, what have you been doing yourself? Where you've been previously working? And they go, I'm an online coach. And then really when you get into the sticks of it, they're unemployed and just have a little link in their Instagram bio.
Yeah.
And it's like great wanting to develop those skills to be an online coach. But for those that are actually wanting to be an online coach, are they genuinely putting at least 40 hours of consistent work in a week? No, they put an hour, 2 hours a day, and they think, I'm going to have a creative flair tomorrow and I might start tomorrow. But the realism within the industry is if like online coaches are great, but finding online clients is far harder than it is finding an in-person, face-to-face client.
I agree. And you know, about the online coaches, I'm really passionate about this topic about online coaches trying to build their brand because there's so many online coaches struggling. And like, you know, Guided Growth, we have actually a course coming out mid-April. We launch a course which is 6 weeks and is 6 steps how to build your business. Every single week we give them all the tools, everything they need. We have like guest speakers coming on board as well. And in the course we take them from, it's almost like a zero to hero, where we take them from someone who doesn't know how to build their business. They know how to have that link in their bio. They know how to, but they don't know how to connect their audience. So we kind of build all these 6 steps for them from start to finish. So that's something that's actually launching for us mid-April.
Exciting.
So that's like it's like a really exciting project because we've been working on it for so long.
And that's important, having those processes in place. And fundamentally, you're building out, teaching them a sales funnel, right? Like really what they need to do to develop their business. And there's obviously so many gurus out there that are trying to pitch the idea of high ticket based items, remote and online. If these gurus are so good at it, they wouldn't be selling a course because they'd be making those 6-7 figures themselves and just constantly rolling it out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've known so many people personally to be stinted where they're paying out a few £1,000s for these courses. And when I ask and break down some of their structure or ask about what they're doing to generate new inquiries, lead generation, paid advertisement, there is no real support.
And if you're paying for a course to someone, ask, has that person actually run a legit business? I ran my first gym 12 years ago. I've got successful sports rehab clinics. I've worked for big companies, worked for like small independent gyms, leisure centers, literally done every job from beginning to end, from junior to director. So now, if someone's not got that experience, what they're actually going to teach someone?
100%.
You've not got the memory bank to give all those skills to someone else. And like being a mentor or a business coach is such a big responsibility. I don't think you can use these words lightly. No. I think it's a real responsibility. Like, you know, I often think, what did I need as a 20-year-old? And that's who I just try to be now when I'm helping any younger guys, because I think I don't have those people teaching me those skills. No one was actively chasing and pushing me and saying, you need to learn this, you need to learn that. I was seeking and indirectly came across the right mentors, luckily. But that I think at times people could sense I had that entrepreneurial spirit, so they would connect with me and be like, I'm going to show you.
That's good.
And I now want to find those.
And it's rare to find people that were actually willing to teach you and explain those processes. I think especially with most PTs, especially how pretty much all commercial gyms work in the UK, none of them really help understand a business point of view when it comes to being a self-employed PT. Most gyms...
I agree.
Most gyms, they take advantage of PTs because they don't have to pay them necessarily a salary, and they can get everything that they need on the gym floor covered by not paying out for expenses on actually having paid staff. PTs, then some gyms might have an allocated head coach or gym manager, but typically that head coach or gym manager, unfortunately, is a failed PT that never managed to make the business themselves, took the security of a full-time job, So now that person that wasn't able to actually successfully do it themselves is now teaching the newcomers how not to do it.
It is that. And I want to play devil's advocate
Yeah.
because overall I do actually agree with you. But the devil's advocate is, the gyms at the big commercial gyms, they have academies. They can sometimes teach younger recruits something. But on the other side, a lot of new PTs can't afford to pay rent.
Yeah.
So that revenue split might be the best thing for someone very young. And I often say, you've got to eat shit for a little bit.
Yeah.
So you've got to eat shit and you've got to go through it and earn your stripes
100%.
before you can actually make money.
But I think that's often the warped perception of most people that get into the PET industry is they expect instant outcome of clients.
Yeah.
If you take someone that goes and they come out of college, they go and do a bricklaying course. They don't then expect to earn £200-300 a day. They go and work for a labourer for a few days, really in the sticks of it, not working in very good, nice environments. Then they might start being a second on a brick site, a bricky site, and then suddenly their salary might double, so they're on like 120, 140 a day. But it takes how many years until they're probably competent as a bricklayer to earn the big bucks, essentially? Within PT, it's no difference. Someone starts out in a gym, they're learning how to interact with people, they're learning how to build a rapport, but they straight away assume that they're going to get a client and start charging them top dollar.
I don't think it's their fault though. The industry has kind of led them to believe, the people that sell them these courses, they kind of lead them to believe success. There's a pot of gold waiting for them at the end of that qualification. And I think less people are now getting qualified and more people are moving online.
Yeah.
So what do you think about people who have zero qualification, which isn't always the most important thing, because you can be an amazing PT without a qualification, but you don't need a qualification to be online. There's no regulating body to be online. So what do you think about people online and anything goes, the Wild West?
The challenge with online is when you're dealing with clients, you're typically always going to be dealing with a type of general population. General population always have some sort of niggles, injuries, and other stuff going on in their life. So unless you've had that hands-on experience where you've had a client that's had a knee issue 100 times over, how are you really going to be able to remotely guide someone that has an issue or a joint issue or struggling with their mindset unless you've dealt with people in person?
But how do you get good at it without having the experience on those knees?
But you essentially have to do the hours on the gym floor working with those clients.
Yeah.
So I think unless someone's really done 1,000 hours of PT, they're never really going to be a competent coach online because they have no real life experience of dealing with that firsthand.
I agree with the rule of 1,000. I think it's like a famous rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do something for 1,000 hours. Like I've seen you squat and deadlift, you go heavy.
Yeah.
And you haven't got that good at deadlifting without doing it 1,000 times. It's your first 1,000 reps that refine your form
100%.
and get you into the place where I can now lift the bar on that same bar path without ever thinking.
Yeah.
So like obviously you're like shockingly strong. I've seen you in the gym, and I think that's my first impression of you was like I've seen you in the gym. You have a red belt. Yeah. So I've seen you with your belt. I thought this lad's so strong. He's deadlifting, and you've deadlifted a lot of weight, and you just come in, do your business, and you're gone. And then when I've actually spoken to you and I found you so interesting, I'm thinking, this guy thinks the same as me. He's a capitalist. He's a business guy. He's into fitness, and this is the people that I connect with. And this is why I've obviously we're here now. And but my first impression was like how strong you are, and that's not come without doing 1,000 reps.
Yeah, 100% repetition. But like most people, they get excited when they learn something new and they want to share that with the world. But it doesn't mean they're competent or experienced at that what they've just learned.
Yeah.
And most people, especially when on the online side of things, they might learn a new style of training, or even especially on the nutrition side, suddenly learn about this next new diet, and they want to preach it to the world, to everyone, because they think it's the next best thing. But until you've got hands-on experience of dealing with clients multiple times, you realise that most of these things are always just faddy, and you've got to stick to the basics and repeat the same processes with most people.
Yeah, I was watching your videos on your Instagram, and you were saying like how you have to do this. This is the basics. And a lot of your videos, they're just reinforcing all the basics. And I think you're not trying to sell a new method. No. And I think that's the integrity of sales. Like my one of my values is intentional integrity. And I love saying that because you want to sell with integrity.
Yeah.
And when you're advocating fads and all these special diets, this new specific trick that you can do or this pill you can take, it just shows poor integrity.
I must get 10 to 20 different affiliate links a week of people trying to pitch and push products my way. And I hate it. I'm not interested. I'm not having a bias on trying to portray a certain supplement or product because it's the next best thing. Not interested. Yeah. And the amount of times when other people, or what's even worse, when you get the multi-level marketers and you get people that are unexperienced, unqualified, seen a small amount of results with something and realise that they can make money behind it. And they go, oh, I've got an opportunity for you. And I was like, it's not an opportunity. They go, yeah, I've just started a business. I'm like, you haven't started a business. You're a rep selling someone else's product. That's not your business. And I find that really frustrating, the amount of messages I get on a daily basis with someone trying to freeload off my audience based on the products that they're trying to sell.
But your audience that you've grown like 87,000?
Yeah.
So you've grown this massive audience on. Are you on Instagram? What other platforms are you on?
Predominantly mainly Instagram.
Okay.
Now, if I'm realistic, the amount of time that I've put into Instagram over the last 4 years, I wish I did it straight onto YouTube.
I'm so passionate about YouTube because, you know, a lot of this is for YouTube. And we now know YouTube converts far better than any other platform, because if someone's going to spend the time and watch you for hours, they're going to buy whatever you're selling. They're going to invest in whatever you're selling. So like your Instagram, can you tell me about how you got it so successful so far?
So
4 years, 90K is pretty good.
Well,
I think that's impressive.
I got to 99.8 once. And
what did you do?
And I generally thought, I was like, oh, next week I'll be at the 100K mark, and I never hit
Went
it.
to 99 and went down.
Yeah, so my content is purely created trying to be as shareable as possible.
Yeah.
So I create infographics that are trying to be well-informed, educational, but engaging enough that people want to share, comment. Then Instagram changed.
What's your Instagram?
Oli.Rogers. So
Okay.
OLI.Rogers. Now, Instagram changed their algorithm based on a GDPR issue within Europe that they wouldn't include shareability within their data for protection rights. So you would notice when you go onto the insights, suddenly where they had the little share feature, there was a line put through it. And my content was created purely for the shareability.
Is this on a personal page or business page?
On both.
Okay.
And so suddenly they weren't including the shareability within the reach. And they then released Reels, being video-based, and started pushing that. Now, I should have adapted my content at that point in time and started pushing videos. But I didn't. I carried on pushing the infographics. So naturally, I just started seeing a decline. And at that time, I'd now opened up my business and didn't spend nowhere near as much time as I normally do on social media as I once did, because I was in the sticks, putting the hours in on my business. And when it gets to like 10:30 at night, the last thing you're really thinking about is trying to do a social media post. So naturally, started having a decline within Instagram.
Was there a time where you weren't posting as much then?
Yeah, I went from posting 2 to 3 times a day to maybe 2, 3, 4 times a week.
Okay.
And the infographics used to always get 2,000 likes, up to 10,000 likes per picture, reaching 1.5 million a week. And then that dropped all the way down to probably a reach of 60,000 a week.
10% of likes on your post is pretty good. That's what you normally expect.
Yeah, but now, of recent, it dropped to close to 100.
Yeah.
It really dropped down. I used to always be on the For You page. Very rarely does that happen now. And it's just, I didn't change my concept, my style of content based on the changes of algorithms.
Are you a fan of Gary Vee?
Yeah.
So like Gary Vee has been a big advocate for Facebook in the last 6 months, and saying how posts Facebook Reels, because the algorithm on Instagram is actually, pages aren't growing. You can see now, like even on my pages, my Instagram has not grown as fast as my Facebook. And I'm posting the same reel on 2 different platforms. On Facebook, I'm getting 4 more views. And you're 29, you're from our generation where we used to use Facebook as our first platform. Yeah. That platform died down for us, so we weren't in the habit of using that, and we started using Instagram. But now we're finding that we have to go back to Facebook because that's where all the people are at. But the unique thing about Facebook is Facebook has real people, Instagram has a lot of bots. Yeah. So if you've got a big following on Facebook, you're going to get far better conversions because every profile is a real person. Yeah. It's not a bot. It's not a business. So often you're going to find that you're going to convert far better.
Definitely. And people have a bit more of a no like and trust factor rather than Facebook.
I think so.
They can kind of go down to your profile and see you as a legitimate person.
Yeah. Are you YouTubing now?
Yeah, so I want to start doing more longer format on YouTube. I've been duplicating my reels onto like TikTok and YouTube, but really I need to start at least once a week putting educational content back out onto YouTube.
Okay.
It's probably for the last 4 years. I'm like, every week I'll do a video, and it hasn't happened yet. But realistically, it's like Parkinson's law. What you give time to will take that allocated amount of time. So unless I schedule it in and say I will do it this week,
that's right.
It's going to be another 4 years, and I'll be I need to do a YouTube video.
And it's taken me a long time. You know, I originally got this office space in Willesden, and I was like, I'm going to record here. I'm going to do all my stuff. I paid for it for 3 months before I recorded a video because I kept getting shy. I kept going in front of the camera and thinking, I don't know what to do. I recorded myself. I couldn't do it. And eventually, I put out a video I wasn't happy with.
Mm-hmm.
After that video, I put out another video I wasn't happy with. And I just found I got better and better.
Yeah, of course.
And now I think my saying is, you've got to be shit before you can get good.
100%.
And obviously, you're very good behind the camera. You're great on your socials.
But it's the same thing. It became with practice, right? I used to hate the way my voice sounded. Yeah. I get overexcited really easily, so I don't articulate very well, and all my words kind of mumble into one sentence. So what I used to do is rather than worrying about how I'm perceiving other people are thinking of me, I would just try to go live on videos in the most public settings possible. And like I was in Australia, I'd be on a bus or within a shopping centre, and I would just go live. So now I'm no longer worrying about all the people around me. Yeah. I'm just focusing on what I needed to focus on.
I still don't think I'm at that level. I don't think I could do that.
But then when it came to being on my own environment, and I put a camera in front of me, it's nowhere near as hard as doing it live in a public setting. And in a live public setting, no one cares. No one's looking at you. No one's like even bothered that you're even they just think you're maybe a little bit weird and just kind of look at you a bit funny. But no one cares. It's
normalized now.
Yeah.
I think now everyone's doing it. I was walking around the street and then there's TikTok dances happening and you just think like now, is it normal? Is it still odd?
I think it's just people are just so caught up in their own world that they don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, now when it comes to being in front of a camera, it doesn't bother me. I don't really think about it. When I do get overexcited, I do think consciously to try and articulate and slow myself down. But part of my marketing, what I do with all my lead prospects is I video message everyone. I don't call no one. No cold calling. I always send video messages to everyone. They find it more personable. I don't try and stage it. I'm not trying to sit there with perfect lighting. Wherever I am at that moment in time, I might be halfway in a session and suddenly I grab my phone and suddenly, hey, this is Ollie from ReDiscipline. I'd love to get you booked in for a complimentary session, and I just roll it off the cuff.
Yeah.
It means that the end user is always very appreciative that it is personal.
What's the customer journey? So they interact with your website or put the lead in?
We will get inquiries from multiple different places, whether that's a website, where they might have come through like SEO on Google, may just be randomly looking through the internet. We have blogs, so someone might have come through that, or through social medias, referral, whatever. So when those inquiries come through, we always book them in for a complimentary session. And then we have at the moment an introductory offer, which is a 21-day challenge. So people really easily, they come, once they get booked in for a complimentary session, they convert relatively easy onto the introductory offer of the 21-day challenge. And at the end of the 21-day challenge, they don't want to leave, so they naturally just upsell into a normal membership. We don't do any consultations, we don't do any lengthy sit-downs or anything like that. We are just raw off the cuff, this is what we do. Yeah. When someone joins, we do then go for an onboarding, which is that's when we put the real one-to-one time into a client. But we're not going to do that until they've purchased. A lot of people will do a lengthy consultation, sit there, try and probe and discover until they find a need and try and offer a sale or a conclusion. I find that so lengthy, boring for the client, boring for us, and it's just a lengthy sales process. We try and cut straight through that. This is what we offer, X, Y, and Z. Which one would you like to go with?
Yeah.
I find it much more easier, so much easier to teach staff, so it means it's duplicatable. Whereas trying to teach more of the consultation sales process, you have to be a certain way inclined to really get it.
Yeah.
And trying to teach staff that can be painful.
I love it. I think there's a real lesson there that you've come up with something that anyone can learn and it could be replicated even when you're not in the business. Yeah. I think that's like a real powerful trick.
So like we got a staff member started with me a few weeks ago, and I was away in Bulgaria snowboarding last week. We had quite a few newcomers come, and he converted them all already. And so it has to be so simple for him to pick it up and get it straight away, and he's converted them all.
And it goes a testament to your leadership skills. So you can actually leave that business with, you've just employed someone and he's doing a great job without you being there. So whatever short impact that you had with him was obviously valuable for him.
And I think that a lot of that comes down to a lot of role playing and learning by doing.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes as a business owner, it's frustrating for me when staff are learning by doing, because they're going to make mistakes, which sometimes means it costs me money or I've an extra issue that I've got to resolve. But that's part of the learning process. So I don't take anything personally within my business, because I've been there once and said the wrong thing or done the wrong thing. And it's not until you step back, reflect and think, how could I have done that better? Do you then really learn? So a big part for my staff's journey is like, I'm more than happy they're making multiple mistakes.
Yeah.
But let's review it. Let's talk about it. Now, if they're naively making the same mistake again and again and again, then it's like, no, this is ignorance. But typically that doesn't happen. We reflect on it, and you can see them then learning. So when they're interacting with that client or a different member with a similar scenario, you can see the brains kind of ticking, and they're already getting what the solution is because we've worked through it already. And it makes it a lot more easier and comfortable for the staff member, and it becomes more natural within a sales process for the client as well. Because at the end of the day, the client's there, they understand there's going to be an exchange of service. So there's no issue or worry about talking about money, because this is what we do. If you want to join, you're welcome to. If you don't, it's lovely to meet you.
Have you read the book Psychology of Money? Have you ever seen it?
I've not read the book.
I just recently read the book Psychology of Money. It was recommended to me by so many people. And it kind of teaches you how everyone has a different perception of money. So, you know, when someone buys a lottery ticket, for me, that's stupid.
Yeah.
And for somebody else, it's powerful. And when everyone sees £10 differently, everyone has a different emotion to money. And the ultra wealthy, decamillionaires, billionaires, they have a warped reality of money, warped reality of like how they see money, because their view and their outlook is so different. And that's why they've become so wealthy. And it makes me kind of understand how money, like I'm getting better at detaching emotion away from money, and how I can just use it as a utility for my business. And that's taken me time. But I think when you're at the stage where you're not earning so much money, you have a bigger attachment to it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then as you earn it, it's not that the value goes down. It's about you see the flow of money so differently. Don't know if how it's been for you.
So I opened up my first site 2 years ago. And within this 2 years, I've not once took a salary out of the business. Yeah. So for me, it's just transactional at the moment for getting me to be able to develop and grow within the business. And I don't see that changing for a long while. Now, once it's got to a point where it's got a good steady stream of positive cash flow, then that might be a bit different, because my other half's probably going to be grilling me that wanting a house for when we have children or what have you. Yeah. But at this present moment, it's not like I sit there worried about money or trying to look at every single transaction, because it's not about the now, it's about the future.
Exactly. And then before we finish, what's your goal with ReDiscipline? Where's it going? Where's this brand? Is there more gyms coming? What's the future? So
I want to be able to create a community where they have every single tool and aid that they need to be able to succeed within the health and fitness. We have been developing a lot of intellectual property around courses that people can learn remotely. So we've just finished a 12-week nutritional cert, which is evidence-based.
Love it.
So it's 12 modules over 12 weeks, 12 individual lectures within that. Once they've done a lecture, there's an exam that goes with it, and they can only complete the final exam if they've done all previous 12 exams. That gives a level of help towards retention for our members, not only in person, but online and remote, because if they're 10 weeks throughout the course, they're not going to suddenly want to leave, because they're going to want to finish their nutritional cert. We're just finishing one up at this moment in time, which is a 4-week menopause one. So we have a lot of women that are a little bit older that are premenopausal, to help them. So we're trying to build out our intellectual property to have more elements than just being.
I love that.
Training.
I love that you've done that. You know, female health is such a big topic, and you know, I have a marketing manager, and she was kind of advising me, like, you know, in my clinical background, I have quite a bit of knowledge on female health, gynae health. I used to practice acupuncture in a gynae setting as well. And she was telling me, why don't you ever talk about it? And I was like, does anyone actually want to hear a man's view on female health? And she was saying, like, it's actually an interesting topic, because the different phases like someone can go through, not many are aware. How do they affect your training? And I think that's such a powerful piece. Like when you're luteinizing, how much of your hormones are changing through that phase, and how can you actually be changing your behavior, diet, and training to improve that time? Yeah. So like it's, I think it's an interesting topic, and I love that you're working on it.
So basically, anytime we see a potential problem, challenge, or flaw within someone's journey, we're always trying to create solutions. Yeah. And that's how I'm really trying to separate ReDiscipline different to any other gym, because we put genuinely the members, the clients first before looking at the business outlet. I think if we can drive a strong, thriving community that feel like once they come to ReDiscipline, they don't need anything else. They're not looking for any other product. They're not looking for any other service, because they get everything that they need within one place. I think that naturally the brand and the recognition will grow alongside it, but it's we focus member first rather than looking at business side of it solely first.
Amazing. Obviously, if you're looking after your members, the business will come.
Yeah.
If you're looking after people around you, your bottom line is going to be positive.
Definitely.
Amazing. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.